Welcome back to Chow Time Pod. It's your host, Red. Got a video today from Lock the Bounty Hunter. They get confused when they're not getting respect. Women. Please subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. Let's get that chow. It's chow time.
What do you do when the guy you're with won't open up? He has his walls up. The first thing, let's just talk about the first thing you should do. And I think a lot of you women aren't gonna like what I have to say. You need to look him dead in the eyes, dead in the FaceTime, and ask him, are you gonna be able to open up with me?
No.
Alright, this particular issue I go through a lot more often now after my divorce when I date women. I'm just pretty much closed off to women nowadays. And they all, oh, why don't you ever share anything with me? Why don't you ever tell me anything what happens? Why don't you ever tell me about your mom anymore? Or talk about your mom or things like that. And it's just, why? Why? Even if I've dated you for months, I'm probably not going to share a lot of these things. Why? Because it's already been used against me in the past many a times. Many a times. I've learned I'm not stupid enough to keep falling for it every single time.
Well, my response to that is rather simple, madam. Why do you care? Why do you want men to open up to you? Do you even know what that means? There's been this misconception that men don't have feelings, but we actually kind of do. We just know better than to unload them onto anybody who'll listen. Men like that are viewed as weak. And when you look at how sociopathic the current dating market has become, men aren't exactly willing to open themselves up to that kind of punishment. If a man opens up to a woman he thought he could trust, and she ends up using his insecurities against him, that's not only a massive betrayal, it's also incredibly messed up. And for some reason, this is heralded not only as appropriate behavior by modern women, but it's also encouraged. So many of us are just opting to remain stoic.
I mean, Sprinkle Lady and all these other ladies. I did a fucking video about it. The woman just talking about how to use men's emotions against them, using all of their leverage. It's so easy for them, especially when we share and give them the leverage.
Deep down, that's what you want anyway. So why bother asking the men to open up? You don't even know what that means or what that entails. All we know is that it ends with a massive loss of respect, so no thanks.
And if that seems like too much, I have another way to say the same thing, but it's just easier. In fact, I did this with my husband when we were dating. Ahmed was actually pretty shy and slow to let down his guard. So after a bit of dating, I asked him, do you have a silly side? And he looked at me, and he was always so like stoic. He looked at me and he just starts laughing. And I had never seen him just break character, for a second. Look, and if they can't work with you on that, if they can't take your directness, they're not ready. They're not ready.
What in God's holy name are you blathering about?
Woman, if you feel the need to demand that a man opens up to you, then you're the one who's not ready. If a man is treating you with kindness, respect, and you enjoy his company, and the feelings are mutual, then what does it matter? Men are encouraged to keep their feelings to themselves because opening up to anybody is a massive liability, and he's only willing to do that with people he trusts implicitly.
I even have women complaining about how their friends and other friends complain too much and unload too much on them. But then yet they ask for us to unload unnecessary emotions and stress onto them also. It doesn't even make sense to me.
A man's trust in another is sacred, and if he gives you that, it needs to be respected and understood that if that trust is broken, then so is the relationship. And frankly, darling, you're not ready for that kind of responsibility. You're a modern woman. Trusting you behind the wheel of a car seems to be a safer gamble. But if a man not telling you his deepest feelings is such a red flag that you need to end things, then just go. Because it's clear to me that your knowledge of the man's feelings is more important than the feelings he actually has.
Real men hide their feelings. Why? Because it's none of your business.
Men and ladies, hitting below the belt when you've been rejected by the opposite sex is not okay. It's not okay, and I'm particularly talking to...
I can somewhat agree with this. If you get rejected, no need to talk trash, no need to do anything. Just walk the fuck away. Thank you. Get out.
Men here. I have seen a big rise in me and my girlfriends and acquaintances who are in the dating pool that I would call a cesspool, where if you reject someone, just say you're not enjoying the date and you want to call it off early, or
Oh, so you're actually on a date already with this person. Got you. Okay,
you
go
had
on.
a date with someone and you didn't feel the vibe or you didn't feel comfortable and you don't want to go on another date.
Okay.
No, sir, I don't like it.
And who exactly is the one who turned it into a cesspool, lady? It surely wasn't us. I don't see how we could have. 95% of men are ignored worse than your sense of class. We're the untouchable peasants who don't deserve to bask in the perfume you use to cover up your stench of entitlement. We all know the kind of men you want, but those men don't want you for anything other than a quick hookup. And these men are under no obligation to care about your feelings. He doesn't have to choose his words carefully, especially if you don't give him a real reason to do so. There are tens of thousands of men out there who actually care about you and want to make things work, but they tick too many boxes on your ick list. So there's no chance that you'll be able to stomach dating them. So you go with the men you desire, and those men don't respect you. Why should they? There's nothing there to respect.
True.
Or they're not really putting in effort. They're really...
Again, like these women always just tell on themselves. Locke is right. No, all they all go after is the Chad Tyrones. It's the 5%. The rest of the 95% are just like, what the fuck are you talking about, lady? We're not fucking doing these things because we don't have the ability to do these things. Chad and Tyrone, yeah, they're running through you like fucking water.
super duper low quality, and they are just low effort, low value, low vibrational people, and you call it off and you call it out and you're like, hey, I'm sorry, I don't want to go out with you again because you didn't put in enough effort. For example, it could be, I don't know, maybe
It's a first date. They really want you to just bring them to a castle with a fucking pumpkin and rats that turn into horses and all this stuff, don't they?
maybe they told you they would call you and they did it. That is low effort. Don't get me wrong, it's the bare minimum. Don't argue with me.
You don't know what words mean, do you?
So the men you want are low effort, lazy, super duper low effort who put in less than the bare minimum with their low effort, and that makes you upset because the low effort is lazy. Well, what do you expect, woman? A man is only willing to put in the amount of effort into somebody that he deems necessary, and Chad doesn't put in
Shit, that's how I am now. I am very about efficiency. I want the maximum amount of profits slash benefits for the least amount of effort and work and time that I put in. I want maximization.
in any effort because he knows he doesn't have to. If he says that he'll call you and he never does, it's only because he knew that's what you wanted to hear and it got you to shut up for the rest of the date. He doesn't need to put in any more effort because he has the upper hand when it comes to everything. He knows your value, and sister, but those crappy sponges you get at the dollar store have a higher value than you. He knows he doesn't have to do anything because the second you start giving him lip, he'll just move on to the next woman. Chicks like you are a dime a dozen and easily replaceable with the push of a button, and that is the maximum amount of effort that Chad has to exert.
It's the bare minimum. Tell someone you will call them, and just, it's not hard to call people. And then they come back at you and their poor ego is all bruised and they decide to insult you because they realize that you don't have anything wrong with you other than high confidence and high self-esteem.
Nothing is wrong with them other than they're just too confident. Oh my god.
Which is what everyone should have before they step into the dating pool. So they decide to attack your confidence. A lot of men are doing this, and women, when
Okay, if you're putting women in their place, it's a different story. Maybe that's what women are doing to her, which is great. I always tell you guys, put women back in their place. But if they're gonna just do what, treat you like shit or whatever it is, just walk the fuck away or just reject you.
not standing for it, don't stand for it.
You're boring! You're fucking dull! You have nothing to say! You are a one-hived mind twat waffle!
Well, everybody knows that my favorite type of confident woman is the kind who's so confident with her high self-esteem, her voice cracks and she almost breaks into tears.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always said that the sign of a high-quality, top-tier woman is the one who feels the need to unoriginally insult a man by calling him lazy when he makes it clear that she wasn't worth more than the few rounds of low-effort bang time. Now, I get it. You thought that the bedroom fun was key to locking down this man, but here's the thing. You're expecting this man to give up his lifestyle. You're expecting him to take you seriously, to be his one and only. He will let you into his life, share his resources, and end his days of having fun and living the bachelor lifestyle. And what exactly are you offering in return? A fragile ego and an inability to come up with creative insults. So when a man is being given an offer like that,
I'm horrible with insults too, guys. I don't really do it too often. That's why you always hear me use the same insults. I don't have a great vocabulary.
What in the hell did you think was going to happen? If a man is going to completely change his life in order to let you in, then you actually need to make that a worthy trade. And
True.
no, your skunk gorge of eternal agony doesn't count.
Dusty men and bare ass minimum, not even your equal dudes, are going to hit on you. Yes, it's frustrating and it can even be discouraging, but I'm going to tell you why you should not let that bother you. It's not about you. You need to absolutely keep in mind is that to him, he doesn't think that he actually has a chance with you. He just thinks that he has a chance if he hits on a million girls. Statistically, he has done the math. It's no longer...
Again, this is a very small subset of men. There are men out there that, yes, will hit on every single woman that they can see, because it's a numbers game. And there's some men that probably only hit on you, and that's probably you're probably the only woman that they've ever hit on this whole year.
Longer about who he thinks he can actually get. In his brain, he's gonna get someone if he keeps on trying. And sometimes it's about getting it for $0. It's about getting it to their benefit, where they financially benefit from it, or even just getting to exploit you in record amounts of time.
Jet,
You learn.
what's the problem?
Well, hang on a second there, lady. I thought that's what you wanted. I thought you wanted men to approach you and be unafraid to take a little rejection. And if a man has been rejected by a million girls but is still approaching, then isn't that a good thing?
He's
Sounds to me
confident.
like he's a man who respects boundaries, is confident, and knows what he wants. But because he's part of the dreaded 95%, then he needs to be banished into the shadow realm, only to make his appearance when you wish to exploit him for either a free dinner or a sperm donation when you're on your last egg. After all, it's perfectly acceptable behavior for a woman to exploit a man when she's on the brink of crusting out. Meanwhile, that man is to stay out of her way at all times until she calls for him. And that's not only disrespectful, it's not gonna work. We know your games, woman, and we're just not playing anymore.
Because when one hits on you and you
I'm glad you guys are learning. I'm going to say it again. I'm proud of the men that pull themselves out of whatever fucking hole that they were in, looking for content like this, learning, absorbing everything, and hopefully you guys don't become like women haters, which I'm sure you will be somewhat in that like red pill rage phase, but you will understand women nature better for yourself, so you can navigate the dating pool, maybe get a passport, do your thing.
make it about you, whether it's the way that you're dressed or where you're at in life or the little vibe that you're giving off. And not to say that, like,
You guys say that shit about us, how we dress, where we're at in life. What the fuck are you talking about?
all those other things don't mildly contribute to it. Maybe it did make you look attainable in his eyes. It's mostly about the fact that they just want one opportunity with anyone. And in their brain, mathematically, it is statistically bound to happen if they slide into 1,000 DMs or if they holler at 100 girls walking by. They know one will stop and give just a little too much conversation, enough for them to run with and actually get that opportunity.
I must have missed 60 minutes. What are you saying?
Okay, so what exactly is wrong with that? If a man hits on you and you're not interested and he leaves you alone, then who cares? If he leaves you alone after expressing you're not interested, then move on with your life. At least that would be the mature thing to do, but you're a modern woman. Your level of maturity is about on par with your cooking skills. Now, we all know what you're getting at here. You're complaining that you're not being approached by Tyrone, only these quote-unquote dusty man that you deem less than you. But what you fail to realize is that Tyrone does not have to approach you. You will go to him like 9.9 times out of 10. Meanwhile, you blame the average men for your misery by setting him up to always take the fall. Either he's not trying hard enough, or he is trying, but it's annoying you. And your response is to try and insult the men you don't want hitting on you while complaining about the men who won't. That just makes you more and more bitter, which is...
It's just weird because when you really think about it, even if these women get hit on like 2-3 times a day, how many men do they actually go through in a day? Like, seeing in front of them, 2 out of 3, or 2 out of like what, 300, 400, maybe 500 men that they've walked across that whole day. It's not really that many.
Fine by me. I never get tired of the entertainment.
So they're not even in the same ballpark as you. They're not even playing in the same planet. And if you feel very disconnected when that energy comes towards you, it's because it is disconnected energy. It has nothing to do with you. But of course, it's frustrating to be looked at and hollered at and bothered. Especially when you're just like looking very casual and sweaty, or even just like a rat. But especially if you get that activity online, you're going to be
Look at that. She's just like reveling in the attention. She's like, oh yeah.
fine, babe. It's not about you.
It's not you, it's me. No, actually, it's not me. It is you.
All right, woman, let's just get something straight here. Nobody is hooting at you on the street. That does not happen.
Not that
Most
much
men
anymore,
don't
no.
care. And the ones who do know better than to risk legal intervention by speaking to you. And the whole reason why you hate the men who come up to you when you're sweaty and not dolled up with 8 pounds of intergalactic grade makeup is because those are the men that are within your league. Those are the ones that find you attractive when you're not trying to pretend like you belong in high society. And that level of insecurity is so high that you take it as an insult that the league you actively chose isn't the one where you belong. And again, that's not our fault. We did not choose that league for you. That was all you, sweetheart. But hey, look on the bright side. As you get older, fewer and fewer men are going to want to hit on you regardless of whatever planet you're on. So just wait a few years and you'll be left alone. Just like you wanted.
It's funny because the wall is pretty much what women want, right? Shout outs to Locke. Yeah, it's funny that the wall pretty much gives women what they want. Men to leave them alone. But then they all complain about hitting the wall because they're not getting attention. Please like, subscribe down below. I really appreciate it. Catch you guys next time. Ciao.